Allie with Potomac Beads. Join me in making this Heavy Metals Bracelet. This is a twist on the herringbone stitch, working with multi-hole beads in different shapes. Remember, even before you get started, you can change out a ton of different examples for this bracelet. Gather up your materials and let's get started. So to get started with our herringbone stitch, I have a number of different styles of CzechMate 2-hole beads laying here. I have the CzechMate 2-hole diamond in a bronze color, the 2-hole lentil in the brass gold, I have the silver 2-hole bar, and then I have a Miyuki seed bead in the galvanized Duracoat gold of the 15-0 seed bead. This is going to be used on the sides just to decorate the piece a little bit. To get started, what you want to do is you want to cut approximately 5 feet of beading thread, and you can use a size 10 or a size 12 needle for this. I'm going to reach over here in my bead mat and grab one bead that I'm going to put on as a stop bead. Now I'm showing this in case you may be just getting started, because I think the 2-hole herringbone is a really simple way to learn the herringbone stitch. I'm putting that one pink bead off towards the end, and I am going to leave about 12 inches of thread prior to that stop bead. The stop bead again is going to come off, and I'm going to sew through the stop bead again one time, taking my needle from the end and up towards the longer piece of thread, and 2 times. So that'll put 2 pieces of thread on the exterior of the bead, which essentially makes it a stop bead. It'll force the thread to stop and keep your beads from falling off the end. We're going to begin this by putting on one of our 2-hole diamond, 2 15-0 seed beads, one of our lentils, 2 15-0s, one of our bars, 2 15s, another bar, 2 15s, and then repeat the lentil and then 2-hole diamond pattern. Now you want to keep in mind that this is going to be the width of the bracelet. Herringbone is based on 2 beads at a time. So we're going to be grouping these up basically into 3 sets of our herringbone stitch. If you don't like something this long, you can always just do 2 sets of herringbone, 4 beads total. So you don't need to do the full 6. From here, what we're going to do is we are going to add our next row of our beads. We're going to step up from our bottom hole to our top hole. In order to do so, I want you to take 1, 2, 3, and 4 of your 15-0 seed beads, and we're going to reverse the thread and needle so it's headed back towards the stop bead. Go through that diamond and out. The diamond and the lentil will be grouped up together, working as one set of our herringbone. The bars will be grouped up, and then we have the lentil and diamond again. I'm going to grab one of my diamonds and one of my lentils. You also always want to make sure that you have holes in both of the spaces. I'm going to then sew through my 2-hole lentil. That's going to be our first herringbone stitch, which is going to force them to sit. It's a nice textured design, that's why I'm picking 3 different shapes to do this with. In between my herringbone rows, I'm going to pick up one 15-0. So pick up your 15-0, and then you're going to sew into your next herringbone style. Go through that second hole of the silver bead, and then what you're going to do is add 2 silver beads and sew through the next 2-hole bar. And I know I'll get questions about this. Can I do it with different tilas? Can I do it with bricks? Yes, you can definitely do this with different styles of the 2-hole beads. I also have a Better Beader episode saying what can be used in place one for the other, so check that out to get some ideas. Another 15-0 goes on, and I come through to my 3rd row of my herringbone stitch. I'm going to add a lentil and one of my 2-hole diamonds. Out the last hole then of the diamond. Once I'm out that last hole of the diamond and I pull all my thread through, as it gets longer, you'll have less thread to pull through, so you'll actually get quicker in your stitching. You're going to add 4 of your 15-0 seed beads again, and step up from the top hole of that first diamond to the top hole of the second one, the one that you just added. That's going to decorate the exterior with just 4 of my 15-0s there. Now we're going to do the exact same thing. I'll do it one more time showing you, and then we just continue the exact same pattern the whole way. I'm going to add one of my diamonds and one of my lentils. Sew through the lentil, because you're always going to have 2 beads in the middle of each of your rows. And your rows by this time now will get really established. Add 1 15-0, sew over to the top hole of the 2-holed bar that you added in row 2. Add 2 more bars, you're always adding 2 beads at a time, and sew through the second bead in that middle row of the herringbone. Again, coming out of it, add 1 15, sew into that next 2-holed lentil, add the lentil and the diamond, and sew through the diamond. Your thread will zigzag across the pattern constantly. So right now it was coming away from the stop bead. Now when I turn around, give a nice tight pull there, it's going to be going towards the stop bead. 4 beads go on the exterior. You're heading from the top hole of row 2 to the top hole of row 3. Once you're in that top hole of row 3, now we get to add our 4th one. And you'll notice with herringbone stitch, they kind of stick out towards the ends. As you do your next row, it'll bring it in towards one another. So on goes your diamond, your lentil, and I'll do this one quickly. Sew through the lentil. After you do so, make sure it's sitting right. Add your 15 into the bar. Add your 2 bars out of the next bar. So it's just a repetitive motion. And if you need to, you can slow this down. You can watch some of the other herringbone stitches that we have. I think it's very, very easy to learn herringbone stitch with 2-hole beads rather than 1 hole to start. You start to learn how they sit, and because you have 2 holes, you know exactly which hole you're going through. You're never really sharing a hole. From here then, when I get to the side, I was going towards the stop bead. I'm going to turn around and go the opposite direction. Now you can see this is giving those nice straight lines. You can also trade up and play with your pattern. Here I did one where I did groups of 2, almost like a patchwork, and have that nice diagonal going along with the beads. So you can really play with the design. Again, make it as many rows as you want to and do it however you want. I'm going to continue this for about 6 3/4 inches in order to get my 7 1/4 inch wrist. And then I'll go back and we're going to use 2 of our cup buttons in the bronze color along with 2 loops. Since it is a little bit wider of a bracelet, I'm going to show you how to add 2 at one time. Once you get to the end of about 6 1/2 inches, we're going to repeat the start at the ending. So we're coming out of our diamond like we would get ready to add our next set of beads, and instead we're going to add 2 15-0 seed beads. Sew into the second hole of the next lentil and repeat again, adding 2 seed beads. Go through the next hole, 2 seed beads. So the whole way down the end of the line here, you're going to equal out the bracelet with 2 seed beads between each one of your beads. Again, this is going to mimic the start. What we're going to do after that then is come back down the bracelet and add in our buttons on this side. On the opposite side, after we're done adding in the buttons here, we'll take our stop bead off and we'll go back into the project then and we will create loops. When I get to the side here, it's up to you whether or not you want to add just 2 15-0s or keep the thread showing. I'm going to add 2 15-0s and I'm going to skirt back through my design here, back through that 2-hole diamond, back through the lentil, and then go the whole way over. So I'm getting ready then to come out in between the sides here, in between the rows of my herringbone stitch. I'm going to exit between here and add my buttons. So I'm back here coming out the 2 seed beads right in between my first row of herringbone. I'm going to add 2 and 3 15-0s, pull up my first button, which I'm using the jet bronze cup buttons. I'm going to add 1 of my 2-hole lentils. Then I'm going to add 3 of my 15-0s, go back down through the 2-hole lentil and back down through the button. If you want to instead, you can do the silver there and add the bar in the middle. Coming out the back, I want you to add 3 more 15-0 seed beads. You're going to go to the opposite side of the lentil and sew through that lentil back out towards the button. That's going to bring that button right in the middle there between those kind of 2 herringbone rows. I'm going to reinforce the thread going back up through all the seed beads, back up through the button as well as the lentil, through the seed beads, back down through the lentil and the button, and through the 3 seed beads there. As I exit the 3 seed beads there, I want to give a nice tight pull on my thread. Don't ever yank your needle because that's going to mess up the thread that's currently in the eye of the needle. Go back through now the 2 seed beads that sit after the lentil. After you go through the 2 seed beads that fit through the lentil, go the whole way over till you're coming out right before the second lentil. You're going to repeat the exact same thing, adding your 3 seed beads, your button, coming down into the lentil, going over, and then come on out towards the end and weave your thread back through, then tying off a simple beader's or sewer's knot, and we'll show you how to do that along the design. After you add that second button there, you're going to come back down through the project and just stitch. So I'm coming out the top hole of that lentil. I'm going to go back through. If you want to, you can also go through and reinforce the thread one more time. I'm just going to take my thread and needle back through the design a little bit, switching directions, going towards the exterior and then the interior, up and down. And then when I get to a point that I have just a little bit of thread left, I'm going to do a half hitch or a sewer's knot. And to do so, after I bring my thread back, I'm going to pick a space here where I have the bridge thread. I'm going to sew underneath the thread that connects the 2 beads together. And as I do so then, I'm taking my thread and needle back through that loop. I'm going to do it once and then twice through that loop. Do a nice tight pull to get that knot to sit right in between that 2-holed diamond. Then take your thread and needle, one more space, back through, pulling the knot usually inside the bead. Do that little half hitch knot one more time, and then use your thread burner to burn down the end of the thread to get rid of it showing. We're going to flip over then, take our stop bead off the project, decorate just 2 little seed beads along the side here, go back through the exterior, and come out to add my loops coming off of those 2-holed lentils, just like I did the cup buttons. Once you get to the other side of the bracelet, all you're going to do is create loops instead of the buttons. So I came right off of that same lentil, created a loop, and then it sits nicely right on the button. If you decide that you don't want to do 2 clasps or 2 closures, you just want to have 1 button, where you're going to come out and through is right in the middle of the bracelet design there, right in that center herringbone look. So that would be for 1 clasp. If you are going to use a clasp that is metal and that you're connecting to, always keep in mind it's a great idea to use a wire guard or a wire protector in order to add that to the end. Thanks so much for joining me and working with this Heavy Metals bracelet. Remember, you can do this herringbone stitch with tons and tons of different beads and bead styles. You can even search our YouTube channel for herringbone and see all of the different varieties of the 2-holed herringbone that I've done. Keep in mind, if you need any materials, there are links below me in the drop down in that show more under the video description. In addition to that, if you haven't already, click that subscribe button so you don't miss any updates from us here at PotomacBeads. Thanks so much for watching. Enjoy, hopefully, your new herringbone stitch style, and also happy beading.